Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear council members, as we are coming to the end of the second annual meeting of the Global Future Councils, let me express our gratitude, our great gratitude for the energy, the commitment, the common sense of purpose that you, the council members, have brought to this meeting, that you are bringing throughout the year to the work of your councils. Professor Schwab, as we opened this meeting, said we need a renewed mobilization behind a shared, common and positive narrative for the future. And this is precisely what we want to bring from Dubai to our annual meeting in Davos this coming January. And so before we move to the official closing of this meeting, we would like to introduce the theme of the annual meeting with a short video.
The fabrics of modern society is increasingly interconnected in a globalized world. The global goals represent humanity's basic rights. We can no longer ignore our actions as they impact the livelihoods of everyone in this global village.
We need a collective stewardship of the entire planet if we're going to succeed with the world economy in the future.
We have a problem with agility. We have the problem of getting at innovative and diverse ideas quickly enough, knowing how to implement those ideas, and above all, to test them.
With technology and smart partnerships, we can create innovative solutions to tackle the world's interconnected problems.
I am hopeful that we are going to be able to eradicate hunger within our life generations. Technology is giving us, for the first time in history, that opportunity to be very specific about changing the way that we manufacture and distribute food.
If we're serious about having lasting business in the world economy, then there's no such thing as success with linear economic models.
We should invest in more businesses that actually have sustainability at the core of what they do.
Whether it's in boardrooms or whether it's in a village, essentially women are being excluded from the conversation across the board. We have a lot of work to do.
We can never reach social justice or any form of social development in that case by not addressing discrimination based on gender.
I believe that it's critically important to bring in more diversity, because if you look at the world, the conflicts that are happening are not because of nationalities. They're because of haves and have-nots.
The scale is just staggering. 60 million people displaced, 20 million plus refugees. It's never happened since the Second World War.
When you have a country that is falling apart, this is not because you choose to have a better job and then start walking. This is because if you don't leave your house and your city, you're going to be dead.
Coming from an island and seeing the recent effects of Hurricane Irma, infrastructural damage is so bad, and where you hear like an island of Bermuda where 90% of the population is now homeless. We have climate refugees, and I think these are very important aspects that need to be taken into global dialogue.
One of the biggest lessons from the Paris Agreement is that we need technology and smart partnerships to create innovative solutions to these problems.
I deeply believe in this idea of cross-fertilization. Good ideas come less from inside brilliant people's heads and more from seeing patterns.
We have to think about things quite a bit differently. That's why I'm so excited about what's happening right here at the World Economic Forum, to be able to have a multi-stakeholder dialogue around the fourth industrial revolution.
My hope is that we have a robust discussion for how this can truly help our world solve some of the hard-pressed challenges that we have today.
The world has changed. If we are not innovative, if we're not creative enough, it will be very difficult to survive in this century.
This is a space to encourage, support, and empower innovative solutions to tackle the world's most pressing challenges. This is your platform for action.
Good afternoon. I think the video brings through quite well a lot of things we've all been talking about and thinking about the past few days, so I think a good introduction to the path to Davos. My name is Cheryl Martin. I'm a member of the Managing Board of the World Economic Forum. And before we begin our final comments, I'd like to start with some important thanks. Thanks to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and ruler of Dubai, for the ongoing special partnership between the World Economic Forum and the United Arab Emirates. To His Excellency Mohammad Abdullah Al Gergawi, the Minister of Cabinet Affairs and the future of the United Arab Emirates, for his personal and long-term engagement and collaboration with us, and his pivotal role in making not only this summit, but our overall relationship rise to a new level every year. And to the excellent team from the United Arab Emirates that has been working so hard on this summit, which has been ably led by Mr. Atraf Shahab. And with those important thanks, I would like to invite His Excellency to the podium to give his closing comments.
Thank you, Cheryl. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a productive meeting of the Global Future Council. We are honored to see the work of 700 great minds create the next phase of global transformation. This is a KPI for government across the world to activate the potential of 7.6 billion humans toward impactful change. Our commitment to the future continues to grow in momentum. An action plan announced here last year, which has been realized in the past 12 months. And the human-centric strategy, plus a ministerial council and a governance framework are now in place in the United Arab Emirates, and I have to thank you for that. Together, we have started a journey to shape a better future for all of humanity. As promised, we are launching a smart platform today to include the region in the network for the fourth industrial revolution. This year, our aim are to globalize knowledge and to build capability through the following 4 initiatives. First, we'll create a center for future readiness to build capacity for government and organization. The second initiative is a global framework to assess future readiness. And the third initiative is to create a new position of future ambassador as advocate of tomorrow's world. And finally, we will develop global protocol for artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution in partnership with the World Economic Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, our journey will continue. And in this spirit, I would like to call for the next annual meeting of the Global Future Council on the 11th and 12th of November of 2018. Once again, thank you very much in shaping and designing the future. And as United Arab Emirates government, we believe that whatever you think Whatever you shape here, our job is to go and implement it. And we believe that our role, we were talking with Cheryl, that we are the world's largest lab for your idea, for your thought. So year in year, when you come back, you see your idea in this lab that's called United Arab Emirates being implemented. And with the reshuffle in the government, we have new position. And they ask us where you got this position from. And a lot of it was based on the discussion that you have last year. If we have today a minister for future skill, we know that the skill will change. And what we did as a government, we went and we created a ministry for that. If we look at food security with Maryam here, it's important for us. We live in a desert. And whatever new idea, new initiative, it will be implemented in the next phase of our development as a nation. A minister for artificial intelligence, it was based on the thought that you had here last year. Artificial intelligence will be part of our life. It is part of our life today, but we know it will continue. Do we have protocol for it? How do we deal with it as a government? We'd like to work with the World Economic Forum, as we've been discussing, to create the first protocol for it. Together, our aim is to create a better future for humanity. That's our calling as a nation. That's our mission as a country. And together, we can make it happen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm not sure what I could say that would be more impactful to all of you about why what you do matters, right? When you see the partnership at which the ideas that you have become something that is then implemented. But I'll try to at least give a little bit more example of what we've heard today. So I am sort of the final comment before closing this meeting. And I thought it would be important that we actually, at the end of this 2-day sprint, and I don't know what else to call it, because I saw all of you first thing yesterday morning, and I saw most of you late last night, and I saw some of you at 8 o'clock this morning, and here you all are here. But maybe it's a time to step back and pause and reflect, and actually to look back and cast back over the past year, right? To say thank you for the past year's work. It has made a difference already. Some of that work from the co-chairs coming out of these councils last fall came into Davos, where they were part of our system initiatives and really had an impact on the conversations as the forum really started to look at this system initiative platform that we're creating. And so I'd actually ask that, could we have our co-chairs who are here stand up, and at least an applause for all of the co-chairs? Because I really think you're unsung. And I know that work's continued. People are working on insight papers. I know in the Information and Entertainment Council, you're working on actually an outside initiative concept to bring others onto the platform in order to amplify what we're already doing. You're actually influencing how we run the meeting itself, from how we put together the councils and the cross sections today and looking at 2030. The whole concept that this room itself becomes a collapsible multi-use space, and getting your feedback on how this works. Does it really help us have multi-stakeholder dialogue? And some of those things might feel like just a detail, but it's the details that make this all work. And it's all of you taking the time and effort to bring all of those insights to us. And I'd point out again, it was just a year ago that we actually announced the start of the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution in San Francisco. And we put councils in place to help shape that thinking, to help shape how and why we'd bring certain efforts, policy efforts, into that center. And now we're on the verge next week of having a workshop about forming a cyber center. And it's in the workings and the conversations and the crosscuts of the councils that the ideas bubble up and they become something that we can do something with. And again, all of you came into today with plans. Some plans quite firm, other plans maybe not so firm, maybe even not at all gelled. Maybe the council itself still hadn't gelled. But you worked together yesterday diligently for many hours and then actually took the time to telescope out to 2030. And in the importance of the councils with giving us that North Star view, where is what needs to be true in 2030? What needs to be true in these crosscuts? And then how and why did you come back today to bend that back into the 6 to 12 month action planning? And in councils like the Council on Artificial Intelligence, benefiting tremendously from having the Minister on Artificial Intelligence in the room, in those conversations, with the specific asks. What can I do with this? How can we work together? And committing to the United Arab Emirates as a lab, right? And I think there's many examples of where the councils have been able to pull down these type of specific initiatives. I think as well, being able to actually help us see the patterns, to see the crosscuts. I've had conversations with some of the council members. Where's the conversation on aging happening? Because we certainly all are, right? And it certainly should impact all that we're talking about. Some of the expert groups have been out there warning us, well, don't look at, if you want to look at 2030, it's awesome, and you want to look at the next 12 months, but don't make the mistake and look at only 5 to 10 years. We'll end up short. Also looking at things like identity and education. How and why do we have to do more of it? How do we have a narrative around some of these technologies? And helping us see where there's blockages that we must move in order for this to move forward. And one of those key ones was the discussion this morning at 8 o'clock on agile governance. And it was reassuring to me to hear about the commitment of the UAE to move agile governance forward. Because as we take action with the Fourth Industrial Revolution Center and look at policy governance, we have to have places that we implement policy protocol and then a place where we have conversation to enable more governments to understand what is that going to mean to implement. And so the more we get this mix of the local and the global, it's going to be so important. And you're all part of that. And then I thank you for the work to come. I wish it was, oh, just thank you, but it is the work to come. And so those action plans that will cast us to and through Davos, working with the individual system initiatives and the technology and all of the adjacent platforms and migration and what does it mean to be human in all of this, right? All of these questions as we bring this to Davos, and you saw the humanness come through in that video. It also, too, though, is a springboard through to the spring meeting and the annual meeting of new champions in China, as well as through to the fall and the Sustainable Development Impact Summit, where we're really trying to bring together how and why things are actually happening that are going to move the needle on the attainment of those Sustainable Development Goals. Because we do believe that attainment of those goals is going to benefit everyone. And so in all of this, my final thanks is around committing to that shared narrative. I think the more we think about what should the narrative be it how do we change a narrative that sounds kind of vague around the global commons? What is that? How do we bring that down to earth? Or around technology, how do we help those who are trying to understand what it is and not be afraid of it and jump to the point of seeing the potential of it, both in developed and developing worlds? How do we actually help people get their arms around this narrative? And that's where the call to action still sits with all of us. So we've started on shared narratives. I heard it in many of the councils committing to narratives. But then it becomes part for each one of us. Because while the rest of the world is primarily under the age of 35, I have to admit it, we're not. And so how and why do we go out and test narratives? How do we co-create? How do we actually not become tone deaf and go out there and continue to highlight to others places where we need to kind of listen more and think about the potential? Because the next generation is not afraid of all of this. So we have to bring them along. This can be tremendous. And so it maybe is the biggest ask Sometimes it's easy to do the plans, and sometimes it's easy to work on projects. But can we actually really look at where's the voice of the other coming from? And how do we embed it in this? And so how do we each individually take on the mission of the annual meeting, right? How do we each help to build in this fractured world? And so I'd close with a wish and a hope for all of you that between the insights and the relationships, that this meeting has been meaningful to you both personally and professionally, and that you each had your aha moment. I know I had my share of them. And so with those thoughts, I officially close the annual meeting of the Global Future Council's 2017, and we'll welcome you to the reception outside immediately following. Thank you very much.